welcome to the channel and welcome to episode 5 of the Age of Fantasy Skirmish campaign between the Goblins and the Disciples of War. And I'd like to start, in case anybody missed it at the end of the last episode, by saying a big thank you for helping me to top 500 subscribers. Thank you very much, that really does mean a lot to me. This is just me sharing the hobby with like-minded individuals. I'm not monetizing it, I'm not getting any money for advertising, anything like that. It's just me sharing the game. So thank you very much for all of your support. For those of you who haven't seen the previous 4 episodes, spoiler alert, the Goblins are currently ahead 6 victory points to 2. Quickly remind ourselves of the Goblins. The warband is called Dribblesnot Sneaky Gits. They are led by Dribblesnot Flashbang, who is a cave shaman. He has had a myriad of upgrades so far. So in addition to what he comes with as standard, I purchased for him at the beginning of the campaign Wizard 2. He's since developed Headstrong, which gives him +1 to morale. He is Resilient, which gives him +1 to save rolls. He is a Duelist, which makes him -1 to hit melee, and he is a Fanatic, which gives him +1 attack in melee. We've got Swampy Stompy, the Forest Troll. He has earned the upgrades Specialist in melee, which gives him +1 to hit, and he is also Resilient as well, which gives him +1 to save rolls. We've got Gwang's Twangang, which is a unit of 3 Cave Archers, and because they're a unit of 3, they activate together. At the end of the last game, they also got the upgrade of Resilient, which gives them +1 to save rolls. And then we've got Slobbergob, the Cave Beast, who has yet to earn any upgrades. Moving on to the Havoc Warrior Disciples, the Beasts That Hunger. They are led by Harrick the Exalted, who is a Lord of War, with a halberd. He has not received any upgrades, but just to remind you, he did take a chest wound in the very first game, which gives him -1 to save rolls. We have got Gareth the Skull Splitter. He is a Death Reaper. He is yet to achieve any upgrades. We've got 2 Gore Warriors. We've got Grag the Howler, this guy, and Kerulk the Berserk, this guy. Again, neither of those has achieved any upgrades as yet. We've got 2 Gore Reavers, so we've got Strack, who is this one, and we've got Greekar, who is this one. At the end of the last game, Greekar achieved the Elite upgrade, which allows him to re-roll 1 die per round. So that could be interesting. And then finally we've got the newest addition to the warband, who is Terrafang, the Bloodhound, who is a demon of war. But they've somehow managed to conjure him, probably due to all the bloodshed, mostly their own, that has taken place so far in the campaign. Now at the moment there's a 40-point difference between the value of the Havoc Warrior Disciples warband and the value of the Goblin warband, and that's 40 points in favour of the Beasts That Hunger. They are currently worth 245 points to the Goblins 205 points. Now because there's a 40-point difference, that gives the Goblins 4 underdog points to use during the game, and an underdog point allows you to modify any die roll, whether it's their own or the opponent's, by +or -1. But you can't use multiple underdog bonuses per dice roll, so it can only be a maximum of +or -1. You can't spend 2 to make it +or -2, etc. Now the Goblins do have some points to spend to recruit some units, but they're currently banked. They've got 25 points to spend, but Goblins are surprisingly expensive. So because Goblins typically come, your base Goblins come in like units of 3, and in preparation for this campaign I bought a bunch of Goblin Spearmen and painted them up, and so far haven't been able to afford any because they're like 40 points a unit, something like that. So yeah, can't afford any. So hopefully at the end of this game we might be able to afford some more Goblins to add to the warband. Doesn't help the fact that they had to replace 1 unit. The original Goblin Archers, this is the second unit of Goblin Archers they've had, because the first one got killed in the first game. So yeah, they've had to spend some money replacing units. For this mission we're going back to the mission cards, and we're using the other way of using the mission cards. In episode 4 we had a deck of cards per warband, and at the start of each turn each warband had 3 cards to try and earn points for the game. In this version we're having 1 deck and both warbands will have to try and achieve the mission cards that are drawn. So we start with 3, and then if one side achieves the objectives on the cards, then they get the points. So that being said, let's go and take a look at the setup. I nearly forgot, we need to roll 4 special objectives. So we've got green die for the Goblins, red, black and brass die for the Havoc Warrior Disciples, and I apologise for the grime on my fingers, I've been cleaning the barbecue. Right. Oh, that was a 4. Okay, so the Goblins have got casting, which is at least 1 attempt to cast or block spells per round. I think they've had that one before. And then the War Disciples have got recovery, which is the first player to recover a unit from stun. Now they've not had that one before, but the Goblins have. And in the games where the Goblins have had it, it's always been the War Disciples who have managed to recover from a stun first. So this could be interesting. Okay, we're set up. So as with the last game, I've gone for 6 objectives because you need 6 for the cards, and laid them out as equally as I can so that neither side has got a particular advantage. And I've also tried to lay the terrain out to try and break up any direct lines of travel between the objectives. So the flat Narmbreads, or the stony Narmbreads as I call them, they are going to be difficult terrain, but everything else is simply going to be impassable, line of sight blocking, etc. So across the top, I've thought about this now, this is the way my brain works, so if you'd have done it differently, feel free. But I've gone for odd numbers at the top, so objectives 1, 3 and 5 across there, and then the even numbers down here, so 2, 4 and 6. Like I said, that's just the way my brain works. The Beasts That Hunger won the role for choosing deployment zone, so they've gone on this edge, and trying something slightly different this time. So we've got both of the Gore Warriors together down here. In the center we've got Harak with Greekar, and then over here we've got Strak, Gareth the Skull Splitter and Terrafang. And then for the Goblins we've got Dribble Snot over there with what's his name? Slobbergob. There we go. We've got Swampy Stompy the Troll in the centre, and then over here, opposite their favourite targets, we've got Gwang's Twangang. Yeah, they've taken these Gore Warriors out on more than one occasion, but yeah, let's go on to the first turn and the first card draw. These are the objectives for the first turn. So we've got control objective marker 4, control objective marker 5, and then shifting strategy. So we roll a d6, and that'll be control objective marker 3. And if you control that objective marker after it was controlled by the enemy at the start of the round, well, it wasn't, you get 2 victory points instead of 1. So nice and simple scramble for objectives. We've got 2 odd numbered objectives, that will favour the Goblins, only 1 even numbered objective, so yeah, looks like it's going to be a good start for the Goblins. Right, let's go into the turn. The Beast That Hunger will get the first activation, although we do need to roll to see if there's a random event. On a 5 up there'll be a random event. Nope, that's a 1. For the first activation, Harak is simply going to advance onto objective 4 so they can seize it. I did think about using Greekar, the Gore Reaver, but he might be useful because he gets a reroll once per turn. So yeah, for now we're just going to advance Harak. Swampy Stompy is going to do something similar and just simply advance so that he seizes objective 4. Kerulk the Berserk is going to rush forwards towards those Goblin archers. And the Goblins are going to advance and then shoot at him. So the Goblins have advanced in such a way that hopefully if they need to be, they can be seizing objective 1 in later turns, and they've all got clear line of sight to Kerulk the Berserk without having to shoot across the difficult ground, which would give Kerulk the benefit of cover. So this will be 3 shots hitting on 5s. And that's one hit. No point in spending any underdog bonuses on those. No AP, so this will be a straight 3-up save. And that's a save as well, so again no point in using underdog bonuses because we can only take one away, which would be a 3, which would still be a pass. And then while we're over here, Greg the Howler is going to advance onto objective 2. Again, holding it in preparation for future turns. Over here, Slobbergob is going to advance onto objective 5. Now he's being a bit more cautious because he can see and scent on the wind some other beast on the battlefield. Predator and Predator in the same area. Now for the remaining activations for the beasts that hunger, we've got Greekar, we've got Strack, we've got Gareth the Skull Splitter, and we've got Terrafang. Now for the Goblins, we've got Dribblesnot, and we know what Dribblesnot is like with his Glare spell. So I'm almost tempted, as the beasts that hunger, to try and limit who we could possibly go after. I didn't think about it at the time, but Havoc is actually a very tempting target for Dribblesnot to rush forwards and then cast Glare at. Didn't think about that at the time. I thought if anybody's going to get close enough to be charged, then yeah, Greekar might be useful with his reroll. Oops. Right, so I think we'll activate Greekar and we'll get him a bit further forwards, supporting his leader. Right, so what I've done is I rushed Greekar in front of Havoc because Dribblesnot would need line of sight to him to be able to cast the spell. So that's going to hopefully protect Havoc from the spell. So now we're on to Dribblesnot, which means Dribblesnot is probably just going to glare at Greekar instead. Right, so Dribblesnot has rushed forwards, so he's just within 12 inches of Greekar. Now what that will mean is Dribblesnot will be out of charge range for Havoc in the next turn, because Havoc is 13 odd inches away. So we're now going to cast Glare. Now I have had comments that says that Glare is a bit OP, and yeah, in Age of Fantasy Skirmish it probably is. It's probably a bit more balanced in full Age of Fantasy, where it would only do damage in one target in a unit. So yeah, in Age of Fantasy Skirmish it probably is a bit overpowered, you know, because effectively casting on a 2, you're only going to fail it 1 in 6 times. But right here, right now, is what I've got to deal with, so that's what I'm going to do. So casting on a 2, because he's Wizard 2 and it normally casts on a 4. That's a 4, so that's a pass. This would need a 6 to save, and that's a fail. But Greekar can re-roll a die per turn, and that's a save. That's a 6. Right, so that leaves the remaining beasts that hunger able to act with impunity. So what we're going to do is Terrafang is going to rush forwards towards objective 5, as is Gareth the Skull Splitter, who for the first time I think since he was recruited is actually going to survive beyond turn 1, and Strack is simply going to advance onto objective 6. So here's an overview of the battlefield at the end of turn 1. The beasts that hunger are in control of objectives 2, 4 and 6, and the goblins are in control of objectives 1 and 3, but Terrafang managed to rush forward close enough to contest objective 5, so the goblins are not controlling objective 5. So looking at the mission cards, the beasts that hunger have achieved Seize 4, so that's a point for them. The goblins are currently holding objective 3, so that will be 1 point for them. It wasn't controlled by the beasts that hunger at the start of the turn, so they only get 1 point. But neither warband is holding objective 5. So this is interesting, because in this version of using the mission cards, the rules say at the end of the turn, the player with the lowest score the lowest total score, can pick a card to discard, but they're both tied. So I think what we'll do is, we're going to leave that one in. We'll leave Siege 5 in and watch the battle unfold for Objective 5 over the coming turns. And as we head into turn 2, the Goblins finished activating first, so they'll get the first activation in turn 2. Here's the card draw for turn 2. So we've got Siege 4, and that is a new card. That's number 24. Here's the one from last turn, which was Siege 4, and that's number 14, because the Siege cards are duplicated. So yeah, Siege 4 again. The War Disciples are already on number 4, so they've already got it. They just need to retain control of it towards the end of the turn. Hold 1. Guang's Twang Gang are currently on that, so again, if they can retain control of it, they will get 2 points at the end of the turn. And then we've still got Siege 5. On a 5 up, there'll be a random event. Nope, it's a 4. For the first activation, Dribblesnot is going to cast Glare at Terrafang, because there's lots of nasty beasts that hunger closing in on him, and then he's going to Scarper, I think. Right, so this will cast on a 2, and that's a 1. Now that is a natural fail, so I can't use an underdog bonus on it to modify it up to a 2, because a 1 will always fail, a 6 will always succeed. So just like in the previous turn when Greekar rolled a 6 to save against Glare, that was a natural 6, so I couldn't use an underdog modifier on it to modify it down to a 5 to make it fail. So yeah, that's going to fail, so he's now going to rush away to get as far away from the beast that hunger as he can. So Dribblesnot has rushed around that rock and around past Swampy Stompy, so he's out of charge range of most of the beasts that hunger, although Terrafang could probably still get him because Terrafang is fast, so can charge 18 inches. Whether or not he will do that, I'm not sure yet, as we go into the beasts that hunger for their first activation for turn 2. And for the beasts that hunger for their first activation, I think Kerulk the Berserk is going to charge Guang's Twang Gang, so that he will be contesting hold objective 1 and try and deny the Goblins 2 points this turn. Because Kerulk is furious, he gets 3 attacks under charge, hitting on 3s. And that one is cocked. Looks like it would have been a 1, but again, benefit of the doubt, re-roll, so it's flat on the table. That's a 2. So that is currently 2 hits, and we will spend an underdog bonus to modify that 3 down to a 2 for the Goblins, so it'll be only 1 hit. Now because these Goblins are now resilient, they'll save on a 5 instead of a 6, and that's a 3. So one of the Goblins will get chopped down, and that can be this one here. The remaining Goblins can fight back. 2 attacks hitting on 5s. That's 2 hits. Saving on 3s. So that's 1 fail. So Kerulk the Berserk takes 1 wound, and on a 5 or a 6, he'll be knocked out. That's a 1. So he's going to be fine, he's just stunned. But that is the end of his activation. Oh, could they kick him away on a 4+? No. Makes sense. Little weedy goblins trying to kick away a big brute like that. So we'll mark him as activated. And then we move on to the Goblins activation. For the Goblins, Slobbergob is going to charge Terrafang. Now Slobbergob is not furious, but he gets 2 attacks hitting on 4s. And they both miss. No point using any underdog bonuses on those. Terrafang gets 2 attacks back, hitting on 3s. So they will both hit, and even with underdog bonus, they'll still hit. These are AP1. So this will be 6 up saves for Slobbergob. And both of those fail, although we could add a underdog bonus to one of them to make it pass, so we'll do that for one of them. But now then, right, so the rules say Each point can be spent to modify a friendly or enemy die by +1 or -1. However, only 1 point can be spent per die, so not per roll. So therefore I could spend 2 underdog bonuses to make both of those 5 6s, and I think I'm going to do that. So that's effectively a standoff, and Slobbergob will back off an inch and be marked as activated. Now literally for no other reason at all than I want to see what he can actually do, I'm going to activate Gareth the Skull Splitter for the Beast That Hunger. So he is going to charge in on Slobbergob. He will get 1 attack for each of his hand weapons, plus 1 extra attack with one of them because he's furious, so 3 attacks in total. And these are rending, so 6s are AP good. There's a 6, and that's automatically a 6, so we've got 1 underdog bonus left. Did I say he hits on 3s? He hits on 3s. So even if we use an underdog point to modify one of those 4s, it still won't be enough. So that's 3 hits. One of them is going to have to be a straight up 6 to save because of rending, and that's a fail, so that's 1 wound. And then the other 2 will be 5 up saves. So 1 saves, so that's 2 wounds through on Slobbergob. So on a 4, 5 or 6, Slobbergob will be knocked out. So he's knocked out. And Gareth has consolidated onto objective 5 in such a way that he will be out of charge range from Swampy Stompy. So instead, Swampy Stompy is going to charge Greekar. Swampy gets 3 attacks, and because he's a specialist in melee now, he hits on 3s. And I think I'm going to use the last underdog point to turn that 2 into a 3. So that will be 3 hits. These are AP1, so Greekar needs 6s to save. So that's 2 4s and a 3. Greekar can re-roll 1 die per turn, so we'll re-roll one of them, see if we can get 6. Nope, can't do it 2 turns in a row. So that's 3 wounds on Greekar. And Greekar is most definitely knocked out. 6 plus 3 is 9, and he's already used a re-roll. Maybe I should have saved the re-roll for that being knocked out, but hey ho, you live and learn. And then Swampy has consolidated onto objective 4 to try and contest it. Havoc is having none of that. He's charged in. He will get 5 attacks with his halberd, hitting on 3s. And that is 3 hits, one of which is a 6, which is rending, and rending is AP4. So we'll do that one first. This will need to be a 6 to save, which it isn't, it's a 2. However, regenning on a 5 up. Nope, so that's 1 wound through. And it's a good thing that did fail to regenerate, because as we all know, rending means that regeneration can't work against a natural 6 from a rending weapon. And then these other 2 are AP0, so 4 up saves because Swampy is resilient. So 1 saves, 1 doesn't. Does it regen? Yes, it does. So it's 1 wound through on Stompy. Swampy can fight back, 3 attacks, but hitting on natural 6s because he's already fought this turn. None. And we don't roll to see if Swampy gets knocked out because he's tough 3, so we don't roll to see that until he has taken 3 wounds. Now the only unit left to activate for the Goblins is Gwang's Twangang, and like I said earlier, they specialise in taking out Gore Warriors, so what they're going to do is back off a little way to make sure they're still holding objective 1, and then shoot at him while he's down. Although we could just charge him, couldn't we? If they simply charge him, that'll knock him out. Rather than risk not rolling a 5 or a 6 to shoot at him, they'll simply charge him, and that'll knock him out. And I just realised they're technically still in contact with him, because I didn't move him away an inch after he charged in, because he got himself stunned. So presumably if you charge in, you get yourself stunned, you kind of rebound an inch possibly. So yeah, hang on. Right, so just check the rules, and yeah, from the way I can interpret it, after Keralt the Berserk charged in and got himself knocked out in the return strikes, he should have effectively bounced off them and fallen an inch away. So yeah, long story short, the Goblins have still charged Keralt and automatically knocked him out. That's all of the Goblin units activated, so Greg the Howler has rushed forwards and he's managed to get within 3 inches of objective 1, so he's now contesting it. Terrafang has managed to charge in on Dribblesnot, that fast ability giving him an 18-inch charge, so he'll get 3 attacks because he's furious, and this will hit on unmodified 6s because he's already fought in melee. No hits. Dribblesnot gets 2 attacks fighting back because he's now a fanatic, which gives him an extra attack. This will hit on 5s. That's 1 hit. And this will be a 4-up save. And that's a save. So Terrafang has to drop back an inch. And for the last activation, Strack is just going to do what he does best, which is hide at the back and hold objectives. So at the end of turn 2, the battlefield looks like this. The beasts that hunger still hold objective 2, even though they moved off it, because that's the way it works in these games. Objective 4 is contested. Objective 6 is still held by the beasts that hunger. And they also now hold objective 5, importantly. Objective 3 is contested. And objective 1 is contested. So let's see what kind of impact that has because of the mission cards. So no one has achieved Seize 4 because it's contested. No one has achieved Hold 1 because it's contested. However, the Beasts That Hunger did achieve Seize 5, which gives them another point, and that puts them on 2 points to Dribblesnot's Sneaky Git's 1 point. So at the end of the turn, the Sneaky Gits can now choose a card to discard because they are the lowest scoring warband at the moment. So they're going to discard Hold 1 because the Hold ones are the difficult ones to achieve because you have to hold it at the beginning, and at the beginning of the next turn they won't be holding it because it's contested. So yeah, we'll get rid of Hold 1. As we go into turn 3, again, the Goblins will get the first activation because they finished activating first. Okay, so card draw for turn 3. We've got Seize 4 still. We've got Slay the King. So in this or any previous round, destroy the enemy hero with the highest tough value. In the case of a tie in tough values, any of the models counts. So Dribblesnot has now got a big target on his head, as does Havoc, and both of them are currently in jeopardy from an enemy model. And then we've got Seize 5 again, and again that's number 25. The one we previously had was number 15 for Seize 5. So yeah, I can assure you I did give the cards a really good shuffle before the game, a really good shuffle, but obviously not that good. Right, is there going to be a random event? No. Starting things off over here with Dribblesnot, he's going to cast Glare at Terrafang. And that's another 1! Okay, so now he's just going to run away. Actually, you know what, he isn't, because for one thing, there's no good place for him to run to. He's going to charge Terrafang, because that way, any attacks back we get from Terrafang, we're not going to kill Terrafang, because he's tough 3 and the most we can do is 2 damage. But if Dribblesnot charges Terrafang, then we get the return strikes back out of the way, and Terrafang, when he charges in his turn, he may get 1 extra attack, but will only be hitting on 6s, so we'll suffer 1 less return attack in this initial fight, at his natural profile. That's my thinking. So Dribblesnot charges in. He gets 2 attacks hitting on 5s. No, 3 attacks because he's a cave goblin, so he's furious. So that's 2 hits. These will be 4-up saves. 1 saves, 1 doesn't. So Terrafang takes 1 wound. Terrafang gets 2 attacks back hitting on 4s, not 3s, because Dribblesnot is a duelist, so it's -1 to hit in melee. Both hit. 6s are nothing special. These are AP1, so Dribblesnot needs 6s to save. Nope. So Dribblesnot takes 2 wounds. 1 more and he can potentially be knocked out, but now Dribblesnot has to back off an inch. And I think while we're over here, we're going to activate Terrafang, and he's going to go and see if he can finish off the enemy wizard. So 3 attacks hitting on natural 6s. And that one's cocked. So again, benefit of the doubt, re-roll so it lands flat on the table. That's 1 hit. Okay. 6 to save. Nope. So Dribblesnot now takes 3 wounds. On a 5 or a 6, he'll be knocked out. That's a 2, so he's stunned. Does Terrafang knock him away? No. So Terrafang backs off an inch. And Dribblesnot is stunned. Now, relatively speaking, Dribblesnot is safe because there's no other beast at hunger that are in charge range of him, so he can't be automatically knocked out. Swampy Stompy is going to charge Havoc. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. That's 2 hits. This is going to be 5-up saves. Ordinarily, Lords of War save on 3s, but Chest Wound means he's now saving on 4s, and the attack's AP1, so 5-up saves. And 1 saves, 1 doesn't. Havoc gets 4 attacks back, hitting on 3s. And you can't see that one, but that's a 2. Well, you might be able to see it, I don't know, but that's a 2. So that's 3 hits, one of which is a 6, and let's remember rending this time. So 6 to save. Nope, that's a 1. So that's 2 wounds on Stompy. And then the other 2 are 4-up saves because he is resilient. 1 saves, 1 doesn't. And does the other one regen on a 5+? Yes, it does. So just the 1 wound through on Stompy. And then Swampy has to back off an inch. Grag the Howler is going to charge Guang's Twangang, the remaining 2 members of it. He will get 3 attacks hitting on 3s. All 3 hit. 5-up saves because they're resilient. So that's 1 save. So that will take out one of the archers, and the other one takes a wound. And we now roll to see if that last remaining one is knocked out, because all of the other members of the unit have been knocked out automatically. So on a 5 or a 6, yep. Now unfortunately that won't count as a KO experience point for Grag the Howler because he didn't take out the entire unit. Keralt the Berserk took out one of them. In the meantime, Grag the Howler is simply going to consolidate onto Objective 1. And he has moved around the back of Objective 1, getting closer to the stricken wizard. Back down here, Havoc is going to charge Swampy Stompy. He'll get 5 attacks hitting on natural 6s because he's already fought this turn. There's 2, and they will be rending. 6 is the save for Swampy. Nope. And we can't regen those, So that's now 4 wounds on Stumpy. So now on a 4, 5 or 6, Swampy will be knocked out. No, that's a 7, so he's just stunned. So Havoc will have to pull back an inch. Now again, there's nobody in charge range of Swampy, so he's not going to be automatically knocked out at any point this turn. But morale is going to be a thing. And at the moment, both Swampy and Dribblesnot are stunned. I'm just going to check the rules, but I'm pretty sure if you're stunned, you automatically fail morale. Yeah, I've just checked the rules. The Goblin Warband is down to half of its starting unit, so it started with 4 units, it's got 2 left. So at the end of this turn, we would take morale tests, and Swampy would automatically fail because he's stunned, and Dribblesnot would also automatically fail because he is stunned, so they would both be routed. So we may as well call it there. The Beast That Hunger would get a victory point for Siege 4. They would get another victory point for Siege 5. And they didn't kill the king, technically. What's the card say? Now the card says destroy the enemy hero. So routed, don't know if that counts. I suppose it might count. Yeah, I suppose it could count. So we get 2 victory points for that. The Beasts That Hunger are currently winning 2 points to 1. So that would then put them on 6 points to 1. So very conclusive victory for the Beasts That Hunger. Right, into the post-game admin phase. The Beasts That Hunger won the battle, so they get 2 victory points, putting them on 4 victory points for the campaign. Obviously the Goblins lost, so they get 0 victory points, leaving them on their 6, so the Goblins are still winning 6 points to 4. For the Spoils of War, the Goblins lost, so they get 30 points to spend on their warband, plus their 25 that's in the bank gives them 55 points to spend. The Beasts That Hunger won, so they only get 10 points, giving them 20 points to spend. Neither of the warbands achieved their special objective, because the Goblins, assuming we'd gone on to turn 4, the Goblins did not cast or attempt to cast a spell in every turn of the game. And likewise, the Beasts That Hunger, they did not recover one of their units from stun. So for casualties, we need to roll for Gwang's Twangang, Slobbergob, Greekar, and Kerulk the Berserk. So go from left to right, starting with the Goblins. Gwang's Twangang, on a 1, they will be dead. Again, on a 6, they will survive and get an XP, and on any other result, they will simply survive. So that's yet another unit of dead Goblin Archers. Just when I get enough points to buy some more Goblins, I've got to replace a unit. Does Slobbergob survive? Yes, he does. Does Greekar survive? Yes, he does. Does Kerulk the Berserk survive? Yes, he does. Picking Goblin Archers. Moving on to XP. Swampy Stompy and Dribblesnot are both going to get an XP for surviving, because the rules say if you were routed you don't count as a casualty, ergo you survive. So they get an XP each for surviving, and Swampy will get an extra XP because he knocked out an enemy unit. So that puts him up to 16, so he's leveled up again because every 5 points you level up. So we can roll for his upgrade in a moment. For the Beasts That Hunger, Havoc survived, so he gets an extra XP, so he's now up to 3. Strack survived, so he gets an XP and he's up to 3. Gareth the Skull Splitter survived, and he got a KO, so he gets 2 XP. Grag the Howler survived, so he gets an extra XP. Like I said, technically he didn't knock out the entire unit of the Goblin Cave Archers because Kerulk the Berserk took one of them out. And the rules as written say you knock out a unit, and he didn't knock out the entire unit. So a little bit unfair maybe, hey ho. However, he has still leveled up because he's now hit 5 XP. And then finally, Terrafang survived, so he gets an XP. So we need to level up Swampy Stompy and Grag the Howler. So Swampy Stompy, that's a 3. he's already a specialist, so we need to re-roll that. He can't have one he's already got. 1. Agile. So he moves plus 1.5 inches on advance and plus 3 on rush and charge. Okay, so he's quite a sprightly forest troll now. And for Greg the Howler, he's a specialist, so he gets plus 1 to melee or shooting, so obviously we're going to go for melee. So he'll now be hitting on 2s. For recruitment, I've not bothered to replace the archers with more archers again. I bought these spearmen, I painted these spearmen, I'm going to use these spearmen. So this is Scabbers Stabbers. They are a unit of cave goblins. They've been upgraded with spears. So spears give them 1 attack each plus the phalanx rule, and phalanx means enemies don't count as having charged them for special rules purposes. So if they get charged by the beast that hunger, any with the furious ability will lose their furious ability. Also, any unit that charges them has to take a dangerous terrain test, so you roll 1 die for each model in this unit, and on a roll of a 1, the charging unit will take a wound. The dude in the middle at the front, that is the sergeant, that is Scabber himself, so he gets plus 1 to hit in melee, so he'll be hitting on 4s instead of 5s, and I've also given the unit a battle standard, and what that means is they count as having dealt 1 extra wound, assuming they deal any wounds at all, in melee. So if they've dealt 1 wound in melee, they count as having dealt 2 for the purposes of working out whether or not the enemy model is stunned or KO'd. That's a 50-point unit there. So base cave goblins are 25 points, giving them spears is an extra 10, giving them a sergeant is another 5, and giving them a battle standard is another 10. So I could have got 2 units of cave goblins. I could have bought 2 whole units of standard cave goblins. But I like to play WYSIWYG, and all of these have got spears. So in order to get 2 units of cave goblin spearmen, I'd have needed 70 points, because that would be 35 points per unit. And I only had 55 to play with. But anyway, that is the recruitment. No other upgrades for either warband, no other recruitment for either warband. The beasts that hunger, they're banking their 20 points. I did contemplate buying them another unit, but then I thought, no, we'll save it. As far as the warband itself goes, they've got numerical superiority, so we'll wait and see. We'll have some money cashed in the bank just in case they need to replace a unit. But yes, I'll be honest, I really enjoyed that game. I think it's my favourite one of the campaign so far. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there in the comments rooting for the goblins, and I'll be honest, if I had to pick a favourite, I do prefer the goblins. I love little green sneaky gits, but it was about high time they did get a bit of a pounding, and they certainly took a pounding in that particular game. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please continue to like, comment and subscribe, and until next time, God bless.